Greece is now officially in arrears after missing a crucial deadline to pay back one of its debts. European leaders are considering a request for a new bailout deal for Greece in an attempt to keep the Eurozone together. Europe correspondent Mary Guerin is in Athens for us tonight. Mary, the deadline has come and gone. How likely is a new deal?
Well, Jeremy, the Eurogroup finance ministers are due to meet later, but it's not certain how long that whole process will take. Really, though, that's the only glimmer of hope ahead as this financial crisis enters a new turbulent era. Greece is now the first developed nation to go into arrears with the IMF, and the path ahead is very uncertain.
A new, tense reality. Long queues at banks opening only for the pensioners who don't use ATMs, who on this morning find themselves in a country on suddenly shakier ground.
We have no mind. They say that the Greeks are smart, but we're just fools. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed to be a Greek.
Greece's last-ditch efforts to secure an extension to Europe's bailout were rebuffed, but creditors have agreed to keep talking about a new deal. With the clock ticking down and concerns mounting, tens of thousands took to the streets. But this time it was a rally for those who want Athens to accept Europe's terms, who'll vote yes in the upcoming referendum.
The Greek people is very good and belong to Europe, believe to Europe. And this government, I want to say, apologize for everybody.
For these people, austerity measures are worth the pain to avoid instability, and they're angry at the government for putting the country at risk.
These supporters of the bailout deal are at least as passionate as those who are against it. This crowd has been yelling out for the government to resign, calling the ruling party liars.
As the deadline passed, Greece fell in arrears and missed the biggest payment in the International Monetary Fund's history.
It will be a new phase where Greece will be in a complete chaos, unable to handle a social turmoil, for instance.
For the people of Greece, feeling the pain of chaos and uncertainty, they can only hope something can pull the country back from even further turmoil.
Now, Mary, the Greek government's decision to hold a referendum was always controversial. Is it still going ahead?
Jeremy, it's a good question. There are rumours today that, in fact, it could be called off. The Finance Minister, Yanis Varoufakis, has said that if indeed a deal is reached before then, that it could be called off, or indeed the government would support a yes vote. One thing is for certain, that as the pain of this, the shock of this missed deadline begins to bite, more people could turn against the government, more people could call on the government to accept the terms of Europe's bailout.
Mary Guerin reporting from Athens. Well, whatever happens in these talks between European leaders and the Greek government, Greece's debt is unsustainable. There are also questions about whether Greece should have been admitted into the Eurozone in the first place. Business editor Ian Verinder explains.
The ancient Greeks had a god for just about everything. Love and war, even parties and drunkenness. Sadly, it seems no god was ever assigned to picking up the tab. There's no way Greece can ever settle its $435 billion debt. With a GDP of $242 billion, or half the size of the New South Wales economy, it just isn't possible. Greece and debt have an unhappy history. It first defaulted in 400 BC, and since 1826 it's defaulted 5 times, most recently during the Great Depression. This time there's more at stake. Not only would it be the biggest sovereign default in history, it threatens to blow up Europe. Greece should probably never have been admitted into the Eurozone. Why? The Greek government hit up to 10 billion euros in debt, with a little help from Wall Street titan Goldman Sachs, before being invited to join. This was only discovered in 2010 during the global financial crisis. But once you're in, there's no mechanism for leaving. For a start, resurrecting the drachma would be a logistical nightmare. Most Greeks want to remain in the Eurozone. They just don't like the conditions. This explains why. Austerity simply hasn't worked. Greece's economy is shrinking, so the ratio of Greece's debt to GDP is blown out to 180%. No one wants the Greeks to go, The word default has now been replaced with arrears, because a so-called Grexit would create a dangerous precedent for other troubled member states, which could trigger an EU collapse.